Okay, today we're going to finish this table up. So what we want to do is we want to texture the leg using the same texture that we used for the table. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, again, we have to break the leg apart. All right, so to do that, we have to select the faces, cut them, paste them into a new node, and so on and so forth, just like we did with the top part of the table. So let's go to edit mode, and we'll bake that. That's fine. And I'm going to select face, select that face. I'm going to rotate around, and I'm going to select the back face, holding down Shift. And now we're going to go Control X to cut them, create a new node, and then Control V to paste, and we have the front and back. So let's go back to the other box, which we have one up here, we have one down here, so don't get lost. Again, it's always a good time to go in and rename things, but I sort of have this figured out because the other stuff has UV projections on it. Okay, and also, just so you know, I'm not real worried about the top face and the bottom face. We could actually delete those if we want, but I'm just going to leave them. It's not going to cause the engine much problem. So I'm going to do the bottom object first, and we'll go to object mode, and let's do a UV projection. And I'm going to go get that same texture. In fact, I can select it from here. Let's do Vectary Table Part 1. We'll do that one. And then you can see it comes in sideways. And remember, this texture has that little black area down at the bottom that we want to use. So this is going to take a little bit of work to try to figure this out. But again, if I, got to go to Edit. Go to Edit. We want the type to be a plane. And now we have to figure out which way that's projecting. Align projection X, Y, Z. Let's click those and see what happens. Y. Yeah, I like Y. Now we can actually see it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we have to rotate it, I believe, 90 degrees this way. No, that's not doing it. There we go. And again, hold down Shift and it'll snap to 90 degrees. And now we have to sort of move that projection to figure out where that, and it's snapping on me. Can't stand snap to grid. Get off snap to grid. No more snapping to grid. I want to move it freely until we find that little piece there. Okay, so I'm zooming out a little bit so I can see the bottom and top of the leg. And now we're going to scale the UV projection. And the problem again is because it's not centered, we have to sort of scale and move and scale as a whole and move. And this is sort of a pain, but this is what we're doing. So scale and move until we get the whole leg covered with that sort of gray area. Oops, I went the other way. And I think you get the idea. There we go. That's good enough. So let's get back into object mode. Let's see what we have. So we have the front and back. That's fine. Now we have to do the other two exactly the same way. I'm actually going to hit pause on the recording. Otherwise it will bore you to tears, I'm sure. So you should know how to do this by now. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do is we want this all to be one piece. So I'm actually going to take my projection and I'm going to convert to geometry to get rid of that projection. And I'm going to do the same with my bottom leg portion, convert to geometry. And then I'm going to control select both of those. And I believe if I can just hit Control G to group, I'm just going to right click. I'm curious to see what's under that. Merge. I don't think we want to merge. We can try that later. All right, so now I have that group. And I'm actually going to go through and convert everything to geometry just to clean things up a little bit. Okay, now, again, we want to be able to see through the top portion of our table. So I'm going to take that to wireframe. And then I'm going to grab my group, which is my leg, and I'm going to rotate up so I can get to orthographic view and rotate, or excuse me, zoom out a little bit. And now we're going to hit Control D to duplicate, and we're going to turn snap to grid back on. And now we're going to move our guy over there, even though it doesn't look like it's snapping to grid. On snap to grid, there we go. And now I'm going to duplicate it again. Move this one up here, duplicate it again, move that one to that grid point, and let's rotate to the side because sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. All right, there we go. And now we have our tabletop that we want back textured. And then we have a table with a lot of different groups, which I know is not great. So I'm going to shift select. I wonder what would happen if I shift select everything and group them all into one node. It's sort of messy that way. I'm going to call this table. And then the last thing we're going to do today is export our table. So I'm going to go up to export, and we're going to export it as an FBX. Texture size, original, texture quality. I don't know why we would want to drop that down. So I'm going to go 100%, and I'm going to download the FBX file. It's going to zip it. Hopefully you guys will be able to unzip it. Don't know that yet. Go into my period 3, Vectary Table. Table export. I'm just going to call this table export 02 and click save. And that's it for today.